A few days ago, we talked about the best current NHL player from every OHL team, so today we're going to do the same thing but for the WHL. On the last video, I did see a lot of comments saying I should be able to use the same player twice and pick them for two different teams, so I'm going to do that today. That's the one thing we're changing, and with that said, let's get right into today's video where we talk about the best NHL player from every WHL team. And if you guys are new and you want to see more NHL content like this, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Beginning with the Brandon Wheat we have Mark Stone, who is a beast offensively and defensively, one of the best two-way and overall players in the entire NHL. Hockey Reference also had Andrei Vasilevskiy listed as an alumni for the Wheat Kings, but as far as I know, he never played a game in the Canadian Hockey League, and you at least have to play a game with the team to qualify for the video, so that's why I gave the spot to Mark Stone. The spot for the Hitman goes to Ryan Getzlaf. Some other notables include young players like Travis Sanheim and Jake Virtanen, who are both very solid, and even though Ryan Getzlaf is definitely past his prime, I still think I would take him over those guys right now. Getzlaf is 34, and I think over the next couple of years, one of those two players I mentioned will definitely take over this spot, but for now it still goes to Getzlaf. The Edmonton Oil Kings spot goes to Tristan Jarry, goaltender for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had a breakout season, finished with a .921 save percentage and a 2.43 goals against average. He was very important for the Penguins this year, especially since Matt Murray kind of had a really up and down season. The only other competition for this spot are players like Mark Pysyk, Curtis Lazar, and Laurent Brossoit, but of all those players, Jarry is definitely the best. Moving on to the silver tips, we have Carter Hart, goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers. This was a pretty easy decision. Other notables include guys like Radko Gudas and Ryan Murray, but Carter Hart is definitely the right choice here. He had a fantastic season, 24-13-3, a .914 save percentage, and 2.42 goals against. Such a massive reason why the Flyers had a really good season, and this team has been looking for good goaltending for a long time, and it's safe to say they have their guy right now in Carter Hart, and he's only 21 years old. The Kamloops Blazers spot goes to Joel Edmondson, who had a really strong first season in Carolina. He fit right in, and he doesn't put up the offensive numbers like a Dougie Hamilton or a Jacob Slavin, but he's a really steady two-way guy, and he did put up 20 points this year, which is a career high. The other notable for the Blazers was Devan Dubnyk, but he had his worst season in a very long time, while Edmondson thrived this year, so that's why I gave him the edge. The Kelowna Rocket spot goes to Leon Draisaitl. I shouldn't have to do much explaining here. He's a top 5 player in the league, 110 points this year in just 71 games, 105 points last season. I do want to give out a ton of honorable mentions though, because Kelowna has produced a lot of really good NHL talent, guys like Duncan Keith, Shea Weber, Alex Edler, Jamie Benn, Michael Backlund, and Tyson Barrie. All really good players, but this spot definitely goes to Draisaitl. Moving on to Lethbridge, we have Colton Sevier. There wasn't really too much to choose from here. We had Brent Seabrook, but he didn't play much this year and is obviously nowhere near the defenseman he once was. Lucas Biza also played some NHL games this year for the Jets, but if we're talking right now, out of all these guys, I guess I'll give the edge to Sevier, who had 16 points in 69 games this year for the Panthers. He's a decent bottom 6 guy. The Medicine Hat Tigers spot goes to Tyler Ennis. He had some competition with guys like Jay Bouwmeester, Chris Russell, and Darren Helm, but if we're talking this season, I would say Ennis probably had the best year to those guys. He played well for Ottawa before the trade with 33 points in 61 games, had 4 points in 9 games with the Oilers after the deadline, and brought some much needed speed on the wing to that lineup. And honestly, I think it would be smart if Edmonton tried to re-sign him this summer. The Moose Jaw Warriors spot goes to Braden Point. In my opinion, he is already a superstar. 62 points in 65 games this year, obviously an amazing season last year with 92 points in 79 games. He is a beast, but this wasn't an easy decision because Morgan Riley also came from the Moose Jaw Warriors, and he's obviously an amazing player, so I'll give a massive honorable mention to him. The Portland Winterhawks is Seth Jones. In my opinion, he's the leader of an amazing blue line in Columbus. It's such a big reason why they were able to stay a good team, even though they lost guys like Matt Duchene, Ryan Dzingel, Bobrovsky, and Panarin. I could definitely see Seth Jones winning a Norris Trophy or two throughout his career. And of course, some honorable mentions for the Portland Winterhawks include guys like Ryan Johansson, Nino Niederreiter, and Matthew Dumba. Prince Albert Raiders, it's Leon Draisaitl. This is the first example of me choosing a player for two different teams. I already talked about Draisaitl. He's unreal. Everybody knows how good he is. The only other real competition for Prince Albert is Josh Morrissey, defender for the Winnipeg Jets, but of these two guys, you obviously got to go with Draisaitl. The Prince George Cougars, I'm going to go with Brett Connolly of the Panthers. This is another team where it said Andrei Vasilevskiy was an alumni, but like I said earlier, as far as I know, he never played a CHL game, so I'm giving this spot to Brett Connolly. The only other notable is Dustin Buffalo. Bufflin, but like we don't even know if he's gonna ever play another NHL game, so by default this spot goes to Brett Connolly, and he's had a pretty good season with the Panthers anyways. The Red Deer Rebels, I'm gonna go with Darcy Kemper, but give big honorable mentions to Matt Dumba and especially Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who had a fantastic year. But Darcy Kemper, when he was healthy, was one of the best goaltenders in the entire NHL this season. 16, 11, and 2, a 9.28 save percentage, and 2.22 goals against. He played really well last season too. This year wasn't just a one-off, he is a top goaltender in the league. Moving on to the Regina Pats, I'm gonna give it to Jordan Eberle of the New York Islanders. This was a pretty easy decision. There wasn't too many other notable guys that they produced that could give him any competition. However, in a few years, I think this spot will belong to Sam Steele, but for right now, it definitely has to be Eberle, who actually had a pretty strong season with the Islanders. 40 points in just 58 games, a nice bounce back from the 2018-19 season he had. The Saskatoon Blades spot goes to Anton Hudobin. Remember, this is based off of what we've seen recently. I will give big honorable mentions to Braden Holtby and Braden Shen, but Holtby just really wasn't that good this season. Braden Shen had a solid year, but Hudobin was amazing for the Stars. A 9.30 save percentage, which is unbelievable, a 16-8-4 record, and a 2.22 goals against. Him and Bishop are definitely one of the better tandems in the entire league. Moving on to Seattle, it's gotta be Matt Barzal of the Islanders. The only other player that kinda gave him a bit of competition was Shea Theodore, who had a really good season for Vegas, but I still think it has to be Barzal easily. Only 22 years old, and in my opinion already one of the top centers in the NHL, the best player on a team that has been pretty good over the past 2 seasons. Definitely the best current NHL player to play for the Thunderbirds. The Spokane Chiefs spot goes to Jared Spurgeon, defenseman for the Minnesota Wild. This one would have been Darcy Kemper too, because technically he was a member of the team at one point, but he never played a game, so like I said earlier in the video, he doesn't qualify for this team. So this spot definitely goes to Jared Spurgeon, who has been excellent for the Minnesota Wild over the past 2 seasons. The Broncos is easily Jake DeBrusk. The only real competition he had is Cody Eakin and Adam Lowry, and obviously Jake DeBrusk is on a whole nother level from those guys. DeBrusk had 35 points in 65 games this year, which is a little bit down from the production he put up last year, where he had 27 goals and 42 points in just 68 games. Still a really solid young player, a ton of room to grow, and definitely gets the spot for the Swift Current Broncos. Moving on to the Tri-City Americans, we have Carey Price. He's really the only right answer for this team, and while he didn't have an amazing season, only a 909 save percentage and 2.79 goals against, the Habs as a team in general just didn't really have the greatest year. The team in front of him hasn't been the greatest over the past couple of seasons, so it's kind of been a difficult job for Price, but when he's on top of his game, he is still one of the top goalies in the NHL. The Vancouver Giants spot definitely goes to Brendan Gallagher. It came down to him and Evander Kane, and while Kane had a solid season, I still think Gallagher is the better player and probably had the better season as well. 59 games played for Gallagher, 22 goals, and 21 assists for 43 points. I think he's probably one of the more underrated wingers in the league. His overall game is just so good, and for me, he definitely gets this spot for the Giants. The Victoria Royals goes to Nick Holden. Now, under the name the Victoria Royals, the only alumni they have is actually Joe Hicketts, who's in the Red Wings organization, but not even a consistent NHL player for them. So I had to go back to when they were the Chilliwack Bruins for this, and still there wasn't even many choices, as you could tell by me having to go with Nick Holden. He isn't a bad player or anything like that. He's a usable bottom pairing defenseman, but definitely not one of the bigger name players of the video. And finally, the Winnipeg Ice goes to Sam Reinhart. This is another team that went through a name change, so when Sam Reinhart played for them, they were called the Kootenay Ice, but he still definitely gets this spot because there wasn't too many players to choose from. Reinhart is a very good player though, and I feel like sometimes a lot of people forget that just because maybe he didn't turn out to be the superstar they wanted him to be with the second overall pick, but he's 24 years old and already has 4 20-goal seasons under his belt, and it's not like he's had the best team around him either besides Eichel. So that about wraps up the best current NHL player from every WHL team. In the coming days, look out for a similar video but on the QMJHL. That'll wrap up the series, and then I might do something on the European teams and prospects that came to the league that way, and maybe the NCAA as well. And if there are any videos you guys want to see me make, just make sure to drop a comment in the comment section below. I'm always open to hearing new ideas. The NHL playoffs were supposed to start yesterday. Obviously, it sucks that we don't have any hockey to watch right now, but hopefully these videos can help you guys out a little bit in this tough time. I know making the videos definitely helps me a lot. So with that said, if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it. And if you are new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys on the next video.